Holland Hitch presents Rebuild and Maintenance Procedures for the Holland XA 2009 Series fifth wheel top plates. Trucking, it's the backbone of business. And a key part of every 18-wheeler on the highway is a dependable fifth wheel. Since it is the only connection that joins the tractor to the trailer, the fifth wheel is a critical component to performance, to safety. Because of its important role, proper maintenance and service are vital. Over the next few minutes, we will perform the rebuild procedure step by step for the Holland 2009 Series fifth wheel top plates. We will demonstrate the proper adjustment procedure, and we will show you the periodic maintenance procedures that are key to obtaining maximum service life of your fifth wheel. After viewing this program, you will realize that this process is simple and straightforward. You will recognize, too, that your experience and mechanical ability are important for a successful rebuild and proper maintenance. The procedures we will demonstrate are found in the manual included in the rebuild kit. Be sure to read this informative booklet and keep it handy throughout the rebuild. It outlines every step of the process, provides photos, diagrams, and parts lists to make your job easier. The manual also outlines several troubleshooting procedures. These are important. You should check each troubleshooting hint before beginning to rebuild. You may find that rebuilding isn't necessary. Rebuild kits are available from all Holland Hitch warehouse distributors worldwide. They can be ordered in many versions. They are available for Holland fifth wheels with either a curbside release or a roadside release. Your Holland 2009 fifth wheel may also include an optional manual secondary lock or optional lock pin bushings. Check the rebuild manual to be sure you have the correct kit for the fifth wheel you are about to rebuild. Before rebuilding, the top plate must be totally disassembled and cleaned. The top plate must be examined closely. If the lock pin hole is excessively worn, the top plate can be returned for a factory rebuild. If the casting is cracked, it must be discarded. Check the rebuild kit and verify that all parts are present. If so, you are now ready to begin. Rebuilding begins with installation of the plunger and release assembly. A helper block can be made from hardwood or steel, which will aid this procedure. Refer to your rebuild manual for proper dimensions of this block. To begin, install the red heavy spring into the casting as shown. Next, start the 3/8" square head set screw, 6 full turns into the plunger, and lubricate the plunger with a light grease. Install the plunger into the casting with the set screw facing the ramp of the top plate. Secure the plunger by compressing the spring with the helper block. As we have mentioned, rebuild kits are available with either roadside or curbside release. Let's look at the assembly of the curbside release. To begin, install a 9/16 ID washer over the open end of the handle. Next, pass the handle through the guide hole toward the outside of the top plate. The open side of the handle should face toward the front of the top plate. We are now ready to install the cam assembly. Before installing the cam plate, inspect it closely. It should be free of burrs and any rough edges along the cam track. If burrs are present, remove with a small grinder. A smooth edge will greatly improve the fifth wheel's ease of operation. Proper lubrication is also important. Be sure to lube the entire cam track prior to installation. Now, insert the S-bend of the handle into the small hole in the cam plate. Position the cam plate on the casting with the large hole in the cam plate in line with the lower cam anchor hole. Next, install a 1/2 inch ID roller in the cam anchor hole. Now, assemble a 1/2 inch ID flat washer over the roller with the rounded outside edge of the washer facing the cam plate. The rounded outside edge can be determined by a visual inspection as shown. After assembling the washer, install the 1/2 inch bolt with the red thread sealant through the washer, roller, and into the casting. Tighten securely. Pull the release handle and check for a free movement of the cam plate. Next, assemble the cam track roller assembly. First, place a 1/2 inch flat washer between the cam and the plunger. Again, be sure that the rounded outside edge of the washer is facing the cam. Then, insert the 1/2 inch ID roller in the cam track. Install another 1/2 inch flat washer. Again, make sure that the rounded outside edge faces the cam. Pass a 2-inch long, 1/2 inch diameter bolt through the assembly. Tighten securely, then loosen until the top washer spins freely. Pull the release handle, remove the helper block, then check for ease of operation. Then, using a 3/8 inch square deep well socket, securely tighten the set screw in the plunger. Up to this point, you've seen the rebuilding procedure for a fifth wheel with a curbside release. The procedure for the roadside version is essentially the same. However, the release handle enters from the opposite side of the top plate. A different cam is used, and the cam is anchored in the top mounting hole instead of the bottom. We are now ready to install the adjusting wedge assembly. First, put the release handle into the closed position. Next, install the Allen head cap screw through the hole located in the crotch of the casting. Place the small compression spring over the cap screw. Next, slide the wedge along the side of the plunger, compressing the spring until the bolt protrudes through the back of the wedge. Secure this assembly using the 5/8 inch lock nut. Tighten the cap screw with a 1/2 inch Allen wrench until the nut is flush with the end of the bolt. We are now ready to install the locks. First, pull the release handle into the unlocked position. Next, slide the green compression spring through the large hole in the end of the crotch until it rests against the main rib of the casting. Lubricate the lock shoulder, tail, and gear teeth with a light grease. Now, slide the tail of the lock through the spring with the large counterbore facing down, compressing it until the lock is beyond the plunger. Hold the lock in this position. While keeping hands away from the moving parts, tap the end of the release handle until the plunger snaps closed. Now, push the sliding lock forward and insert a chisel between the lock and the plunger. This will temporarily hold the sliding lock forward to allow installation of the hinged lock. Next, coat the lock pin hole of the hinged lock with never-seize lubricant. This is vital. Do not use any substitute lubricant. After lubricating the lock pin hole with never-seize, lubricate the gear teeth with a light grease. Slide the hinged lock through the throat of the fifth wheel and engage the hinge lock in the teeth of the sliding lock so that it is oriented as shown when the pinholes are aligned. Drive the lock pin through the hinged lock from the face of the top plate until the head of the pin is flush with the top plate. Secure the lock pin with a cotter pin and remove the chisel. Now spread the cotter pin. Some fifth wheels come equipped with optional lock pin bushings. Normally, these bushings do not require replacement. However, when bushings are in the top plate, the lock pin must be secured with a roll pin instead of the cotter pin. Close the locks using a Holland lock tester. Verify that the locking mechanism functions properly. Refer to Holland hitch publication FW130 for specific details on how to operate the tester. When operating properly, the plunger will slide freely behind the hinged lock as shown. If the plunger does not slide behind the hinged lock, it may be necessary to check for an obvious obstruction, loosen the adjustment, or change the lock timing, as the hinged lock may be engaged in the wrong teeth of the sliding lock. If, after these procedures, the fifth wheel does not operate properly, do not use it. Contact your local Holland hitch representative for assistance. If the fifth wheel operates properly, we are now ready to adjust the locks. To begin, close the locks using a Holland lock tester. Using a ratchet with a 1/2-inch Allen wrench extension, tighten the adjustment screw in the crotch of the fifth wheel by turning clockwise. Tighten until just snug. Now, loosen the adjustment screw by turning counterclockwise 1 1/2 turns. The locking mechanism is now properly adjusted. Verify this adjustment by locking and unlocking the fifth wheel several times. Once again, if the fifth wheel does not operate properly, do not use it. Contact your local Holland hitch representative for assistance. At this point of the procedure, you are now ready to install the lock guard. First, pull the release handle and remove the lock tester. Then, install the lock guard. Assemble the lock guard and the torsion spring. Mount the lock guard into place using the pivot shaft and cotter pins. Now, check the lock guard adjustment. When properly adjusted, the center of the hinge lock will contact the lock guard when attempting to swing it closed. If necessary, adjust the position of the lock guard with a mallet. This adjustment is important. The lock guard is an aid in preventing a high hookup of a trailer kingpin. Its proper adjustment provides an additional safety feature when using the fifth wheel. This completes the rebuild procedure of the standard 2009 top plate. However, some models come equipped with a manual secondary lock. The proper installation and adjustment of this lock is as follows. Close the locks using a Holland lock tester. Insert the lock block into the casting with the chamfered edges facing toward the top plate. Install the handle through the guide holes in the casting and attach the jam nut. Then, start the handle into the threaded hole of the lock block. Insert the ball into the detent hole, followed by the spring. Finally, install the set screw and tighten securely. After tightening, the secondary lock is ready to be adjusted. To adjust, move the secondary lock handle in and out until the handle rests in the closed lock detent. In this position, the end of the secondary lock bar should be flush with the far edge of the lock guard. If the lock bar is not flush, adjust the position of the lock bar by turning the handle clockwise or counterclockwise until proper adjustment is attained. Secure the adjustment by aligning the handle with the casting and then tighten the jam nut against the lock block. Let's take a moment to cover the PM adjustment of the fifth wheel locks. For maximum service life, the fifth wheel should be steam cleaned, inspected and adjusted as necessary every 30,000 miles or 50,000 kilometers, or as a part of regular scheduled inspections. For For additional specific instructions on lubrication, inspection, and adjustment, refer to the Holland publication FWTE 14C. Part of the periodic maintenance, the adjustment procedure, is as follows. First, close the locks using a Holland lock tester. Tighten the Allen head adjustment screw in the crotch of the fifth wheel by turning clockwise until just snug. Now, loosen the adjustment screw by turning counterclockwise 1 1/2 turns. The locking mechanism is now properly adjusted. Verify this adjustment by locking and unlocking the fifth wheel several times. Rebuilding a fifth wheel is a simple, straightforward procedure. If you perform each step with care and attention to detail, the procedure can be broken down into a few key steps. Inspection of the top plate. Installation of the plunger release and adjusting wedge. Installation of the lock jaws and lock guard. Adjustment of the lock for a secure fit. Remember to lubricate all moving parts during assembly, and be sure to follow each step in the procedure completely. Work carefully and safely during every step of the procedure. Holland Hitch believes that quality equipment deserves quality maintenance. Trucking is a vital part of business and everyday life. Your skill and experience is an important part in maintaining efficiency, safety, and productivity in the trucking industry. Holland Hitch is proud to provide the people and products that go the distance to support you.